What's up, guys? Freebird here. I wanted to pop on because I have had this request from a few different people, and I do really think it's a good idea and will be helpful for people planning future through hikes. So the request was, what gear has been working for me on the AT? What gear hasn't been working for me? And leading into that, what gear am I going to be getting rid of when I go back out on trail in a few weeks? So let's jump in. So gear that I've really loved and am really happy that I had. Number one thing is my fleece sleeping bag liner from Sea to Summit. So I was a little bit worried about, I made this switch to this piece of gear very shortly before I went on the AT. I originally had a silk sleeping bag liner, and I made the decision to switch to a fleece sleeping bag liner. The reason for that is I felt like the silk sleeping bag liner didn't add enough warmth for me on my shakedown hike in Dolly Sods. And like I sleep cold. So I wanted something that would keep me nice and toasty and cozy. And I'm really glad that I made the switch. It definitely was a weight trade-off. Obviously, the fleece sleeping bag liner is significantly heavier than the silk sleeping bag liner, and it's also bulkier. So it takes up more room in my pack when I have it all packed up. But I'm very happy that I had it for my late February start. I've used it every single night that I've slept in my tent. I may not have needed it every single night because I actually don't like to use my draft collar on my quilt. So on moderately cold nights, the sleeping bag liner helps me stay warm enough without using my draft collar. But on nights that are, below 30 degrees, below freezing, I do use my draft collar and my fleece liner in conjunction with each other, and that keeps me nice and cozy. So you may or may not feel that a fleece liner would be beneficial or worth it to you, but I've found that it's been fantastic. The next piece of gear that I've really loved is my Chicken Tramper Gear water bottle shoulder strap pocket for my pack. So this was actually sent to me by them for free. And I wasn't sure that I was actually going to use it because my Light AF pack, I did pay to have the two like stretchy mesh water bottle pockets added to the straps during production. But what I found is that, and maybe they would stretch out, but those pockets provided and put on by Light AF are just very tight. It's kind of difficult to get the water bottle in like far down enough, and then it's sticking up pretty high and, knocking me in my face and stuff. So I actually put the Chicken Tramper Gear water bottle pocket over the Light AF one. I didn't cut it off just yet because I wanted to make sure I liked the Chicken Tramper one. And I've been really happy with it. So at first I wasn't sure I was going to like it because when I started hiking, when I was in a t-shirt, my inner arm actually rubbed against the mesh, as I'm walking with my poles, and was giving me a rash and actually some chafing. But I just sort of had to work through that, and the mesh softened over time, and it actually doesn't bother me at all anymore. So I really love having it. I actually just ordered one for my husband to put on his pack, and I would have definitely paid money for this. I think it's great. So speaking of my pack, I've just really loved my pack too. So outside of that whole water bottle shoulder strap pocket thing that I just mentioned that I don't really like, the rest of the pack has been great. It's 40-liter capacity with, I think it's 15-liter capacity in the exterior pocket, which has been plenty of room. It is definitely a little bit tight when I have a big food carry. Like when I went into the Smokies, it was definitely tight, but I made it work. So I've really enjoyed the pack. It's comfortable. I know I've had some shoulder, upper back pain, but I don't think that that's because of the pack. I think it's just because of the nature of always carrying something on your shoulders and back for days on end. I think it's really comfortable, super adjustable. The exterior mesh pocket is great. It fits so much. I will say I do have a tiny hole in the exterior mesh pocket already. but it's been there a while and it hasn't grown or gotten any bigger. I just have a piece of duct tape over it for now. And yeah, I put a lot of stuff in that. I stretched that thing out. So I've been really happy with the pack. My tent so far I've been very happy with. I've definitely gotten quicker and more efficient at setting it up, and that will just continue. You know, I haven't had to set it up in the rain really at all. I have had to take it down in the rain, and one thing I will say is I wasn't anticipating how heavy the tent would be to carry when it's wet, so that was a surprise. But other than that, I really liked the tent. It's kept me dry. I know some people have issues with their duplexes where they do get wet when it rains, but I think that has to do with the terrain you're on and how you pitch the tent. And so far I've had good luck. But yeah. I've really loved my shoes and my socks. So I have the Hoka Speed Goat 4s, and I was a little bit nervous at first because I did get like 5 or so blisters at the beginning of my hike. I drained them and let them sort of callus up, and honestly I haven't had any blister problems since then. The shoes have been comfortable. The extra padding in the heel has been great. I've had very little like actual sole pain on my feet from, you know, the constant pounding. The socks have been great as well. They're very comfortable. I will say that I did have to buy one new pair of socks so far because the one pair, I've got the Injinji toe socks, not the liners, but the actual trail socks. They're like a crew cut, and that's all I wear for socks. I don't do a liner with the Darn Tough like a lot of people do. I just do the toe sock, and I have had to replace one pair so far because I developed a hole in the big toes of both socks. And unfortunately, you know, Injinji doesn't have the same return policy as Darn Tough, so I've had to just flat out replace them and pay for a new pair. But considering they work for me and I was blister free at that time, I thought it was worth it to just stick with what was working. So I've really liked those. I know Hoka just came out with the Speed Goat 5s, which I am actually going to go to REI, I think tomorrow, to try them on, see what I think of them. You know, I am going to need a new pair of shoes here shortly, especially if I'm doing Pennsylvania while I'm home. And I want to see if I want to try out the 5s or if I want to stick with the Speed Goat 4s like I've been using. So I'm just going to go to REI and try them on. But other than that, like, I've loved the shoes. They've been great. Also, the Dirty Girl Gaiters, perfect. You know, they do a great job keeping dirt and debris out of your shoes. So if you don't have gaiters and you're using trail runners, I would highly recommend getting yourself a pair of Dirty Girl Gaiters and using those on your thru hike. Yeah, I really feel like everything has just been working out for me really well. Like my major purchases, my quilt, my backpack, my tent, you know, my shoes, most of my clothing has been great. I will mention a couple things that haven't been great here in just a minute. You know, all my stuff sacks have been great. My cook system has been great. I really just boil water and do the freezer bag cooking method. But yeah, everything's been really good. So I'm going to just pop in to talk about some things that haven't been working great, but I'm still going to continue to use for now. So the first thing that hasn't been working super great for me is my leggings that I hike in. So they are the Eddie Bauer Trail Tights, and don't get me wrong, I love those leggings. They're great, they're comfortable, they're well reinforced, you know, they don't rip. I don't have to worry about them ripping. But I have noticed, and this is probably specific to through hiking, but if I wear them like 3 days in a row, I feel like they start to fall down, like they're getting stretched out. They don't stay up anymore. And this could also be coincided with me losing weight. Maybe I need to go down a size. I don't know. But yeah, they do start to fall down, and I have had some chafing in my inner thigh area, and I do really think that it's because of my leggings and not my underwear, because I don't have chafing when I'm wearing my shorts, only when I'm wearing my leggings. But I do plan to continue on using these leggings because I do really like them otherwise. and I know we're going to be getting into warmer temperatures here, so I will probably be more often than not wearing my shorts anyway. And the leggings, you know, hopefully I don't wear them too many days in a row moving forward to where I experience that stretch out issue. All right, the next thing that hasn't been working out for me is my underwear. So I had a pair, actually I had 3 pairs of like seamless boy short underwear, hipster underwear from Under Armour. And they're great underwear. They're super comfortable. But I don't think they're really ideal for hiking or being active because I feel like they don't dry quickly. They absorb odors and like I just feel like they smell after only a couple hours of wearing them. And they don't have elastic around like the leg holes or the waist. So I have found that, you know, occasionally they'll fall down around my waist or like they just shift out of place around the areas where they're supposed to cover. So I don't particularly love them. I'm going to still continue to carry all 3 pairs, but I am going to supplement. I just ordered from Amazon some ex officio, just regular like brief cut women's underwear, because I know a lot of people wear the ex officio. They're made for being active. They're supposed to resist odor and like be moisture wicking and all this stuff. So I'm going to be the girl that's carrying 5 pairs of underwear on trail, but if I find that I like the ex officio underwear quite a bit, I will get rid of the Under Armour pairs and get, you know, 1 or 2 more pairs of ex officio. I like to have at least 3 pairs of underwear on trail with me, but I wouldn't be opposed to having more. That's why I'm going to be going back on trail with 5 pairs. I just feel like putting on a nice clean pair of underwear in the morning just sets the tone for the day and puts me in a better mood. So I'm going to carry the extra weight. Another thing that hasn't worked out as well as I thought it would is my battery bank. And not that it's not working, it works great. I have the Anchor 13,000 milliamp hour battery bank, and it works fantastic. It gives me about, I think, almost 4 full charges on my iPhone. I think I have the 12 Pro. But there are times, because I do a lot of, you know, filming and editing, and if I have service, I like to catch up on things while I'm laying in my tent at night. So because of that, I do wish I had a little bit more like reserve power to give me, you know, maybe at least 5 full charges. So I don't want to get rid of my 13,000 milliamp hour battery bank because I spent the money on it. I've got some cool stickers on it. So what I actually did is I ordered from Amazon today an extra 5,000 milliamp hour battery bank. It's only like 4 ounces, and it gives me almost 1.5 more charges on my iPhone from what I'm reading. So I will just carry that as an emergency backup for stretches when I'm out longer than 3 or 4 days to get me to town. All right, so that's sort of it for things that haven't been working out as I expected them to. Now I'm going to transition into things that I am leaving home, that it was either because I just found that I don't use them or only used them a few times. All right, so the first thing that I'm planning on leaving at home are my micro spikes. So I carried these all the way from Amicalola to Hot Springs. They are, I think they're just under a pound of weight. They're the Catula micro spikes, and I just have them in this mesh Sawyer bag that comes with the water filter, and I did not touch them one time. I was one of the lucky ones that got through the Smokies with literally, I mean, and I shouldn't say literally, but no snow or ice that caused any issues or need to wear them. So I'm through the Smokies. I know that, you know, there can definitely still be some snow and ice in April through North Carolina and into Virginia. But considering when I'm going to be getting back on trail in North Carolina, I shouldn't need these anymore. So leaving these guys home. Another piece of winter gear I'm leaving home are my winter mittens. So I had brought these just for like super cold days or nights when I needed a little bit more hand warmth. But honestly, I haven't even used them for hand warmth. All I've used it for, and I've used one mitten only, is to put my Sawyer water filter inside of, like at night, and I would put the whole mitten inside my sleeping bag with me. And I also stored it in here on cold hiking days. That way the Sawyer was protected from the cold inside my pack while I was hiking to help prevent it from freezing. So only ever used one mitten, wasn't even for my hands. And yeah, because I'm going to be getting back on trail sort of late April in North Carolina, I shouldn't need these too often. And if I do have super cold nights, I'll just use other clothing layers or insulating methods to keep my Sawyer from freezing overnight or while I hike. I'm not going to bring these guys along just for that. All right, another thing I'm leaving home are my waterproof sealskins socks. Never wore them. Sorry, Mom, I know you got these for me for Christmas, but I never wore them because I got through the Smokies with no snow or ice really to combat. I didn't really have a need for them. You know, of course, there will probably be random days here and there where having these would be nice. But I primarily got them with the Smokies in mind, thinking of days that I might be trudging through deep snow and trail runners. And I thought these would keep my feet dry and warmer than just my regular hiking socks. And yeah, I didn't need to use them. So I'm going to leave these home. I'm sure they'll get used at some point, but not on this hike. All right, another thing that I'm going to leave home is my AT buff that I started the trail with, this green one from the Trek. It's a super cool buff. You know, it's got all the landmarks, you know, on the trail, and kind of could be a little bit of a map almost of what's coming up. But I have found that the free buff that I got from Outdoor 76 in Franklin, that's also an AT buff, I found that that's more comfortable. You know, it fits a little bit tighter on the head. This one slips around a lot more. And I don't need two buffs on trail. So I'm going to leave this guy home and just use my free one from Outdoor 76. Another thing, and this I'm not 100% on, but I'm fairly certain of it. I'm going to be leaving home my tripod selfie stick. I used this the first week a few times for some of my walk-by shots, but more often than not, I'm honestly too lazy to get this out and film with it, either, you know, as a extendable selfie stick for longer range shots, and those walk-bys I just haven't really been doing in any of my recent videos. So I'm debating leaving this home since I don't use it, and it is fairly heavy. I think it's like 10 ounces. I'm not convinced yet. Who knows? I might still take it back out with me because it has been sort of nice to have as an option to set up, you know, a tripod to take a selfie with, or if I have a group of people and you don't, you know, have long enough arms to get everyone in the shot and you don't have another person to take the picture, I could always use this to set up the shot. So we will see what happens. I may or may not take it out. I know there's some places like McAfee's Knob and stuff coming up that it would be nice to have the ability to set up a far away photo or video with. So I don't know. Now that I'm talking this through, I think I might actually keep it. We'll see. Another thing I think I'm leaving home is the foldable wet brush that I brought on trail. So this was great. It had a little mirror and the brush pops out like so. And don't get me wrong, I've loved having a brush, and I 1000% need a brush on trail because my hair gets so knotted. The problem is this brush doesn't work for how thick my hair is. The bristles aren't long enough to completely brush through my wet hair in only a couple passes. I literally have to sit there and brush my hair for like 15 or 20 minutes after I shower to get all the knots out, and even then I still have tons of knots. So while this brush is fantastic, like I'm not leaving it home because I didn't like it or didn't use it, I'm actually going to be bringing my own wet brush that I use at home on a regular basis back on trail with me. It's bigger than this. It might actually be about the same weight, but it's bigger than this. But that thing does an amazing job with my hair texture and thickness, and the extra bulk of it I think is worth it for me. It'll just make my time in town more enjoyable. I won't dread brushing my wet hair after I wash it, and it won't hurt so much, and I probably won't lose so much hair either if I have a better wet brush. So swapping this out with my normal wet brush from home. Another thing I'm leaving home is actually something that I did not intend on bringing on trail anyway, but I forgot to take it out, was the ferro rod. I know people had suggested this as a backup to my lighter if my lighter gets wet or runs out of fuel, and I would still have a way to light my stove. But just prior to going on trail, you know, I had some comments of people that were like, why wouldn't you just bring a second lighter? Which seems like a no-brainer to me. So my goal was to swap this out with just a second Bic Mini, which I never did and forgot to do. So I carried this guy with me from Amicalola to Hot Springs, and now that I'm home, I have made the switch. I am leaving this at home and pulled out my second Bic Mini that I had at home and put that in my like toiletry repair bag to have as a backup. So this guy's staying home. And the last thing that I plan on leaving at home is my camp mug. This is a great mug, don't get me wrong, I've loved it, but I've only used it like 2 times, and honestly it's kind of a pain in the butt to clean out while still following proper leave no trace at camp. I've only used it a couple times to make hot chocolate. I don't do coffee on trail, so really the extra weight of this wasn't worth it to me, and you know, having to clean it, you know, the hot chocolate was just getting stuck to the inside, the bottom of it, so I just stopped making hot chocolate, and it kind of was too much work for me to make hot chocolate usually, so I'm gonna leave the mug at home since I don't need it that often. Jordan's actually gonna steal it from me and bring it with him when he comes to visit me on trail because he does want to have coffee. So this is Jordan's mug now. Oh, and one more thing I forgot that I'm going to be leaving home is the, it's like the stuff blow, or not a stuff sack, it's like the inflatable blow sack that comes with the Thermarest sleeping pads. It attaches to the sleeping pad, and that way you don't have to use all of your, you know, breaths and put your mouth to the pad to blow it up. This is supposed to make your life easier, but honestly, I found that I could never really get it to work right, and it was just more stressful and annoying than anything. It's not heavy and it doesn't take up much room, but every ounce counts. So I'm going to leave that home and just stick to blowing my pad up by mouth, which is what I've been doing every night anyway. So yeah, that's the general gist. Those are the pieces of gear that I've loved, pieces of gear that I haven't really liked so much, and the things that I'm leaving home and not bringing back on trail with me when I head back to North Carolina. Drop any comments if you have any questions or want to know anything about any specific pieces of gear I didn't mention, and I'll be sure to try to answer them. I'll probably be back on trail, you know, either in Pennsylvania or North Carolina when this video goes live, so I'll do my best to respond to you. But cut me some slack if I don't respond right away. I'll try to. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys back on trail. Bye.